Welcome to the Build Your Own Decking video from Home Hardware.
This looks interesting. Hey, wake up, Sandy. They're going to show us how to build our own decking on this video.
Our own decking?
That's what he said.
But how are we going to build it?
Well, let's watch and see.
When it comes to decking, Home Hardware have it all. The deck is no longer a basic timber construction. It's now a multi-purpose design limited only by your imagination. When it comes to entertainment and relaxation, you're the expert. At Home Hardware, we can help you to design that special deck in any number of styles. At Home Hardware, we'll assist you with everything and all within a budget to suit you. So why not get started at home today? Of the many do-it-yourself designs, Home Hardware has produced this video to show you how to build a raised deck with handrails and steps. The principles and procedures are common to most Home Hardware decking designs. This example also incorporates a pergola, and some of the posts are common to both structures. For detailed information on pergola construction, Home Hardware have produced a do-it-yourself pergola video. Because your deck will be exposed to sun, rain, wear and tear, durable timbers must be selected. Hardwood or treated pine for beams, joists or posts, but Oregon or local hardwoods for posts must be attached to metal footings. A large range of decking timber is available. The decking can be dressed for smooth walking surfaces, with the two top side edges beveled or rounded to ensure no splinters in bare feet. Alternatively, there is a selection of reeded timbers which provide a non-slip surface ideal for swimming pool areas. You should check council regulations regarding permits and acceptability of your intended location and the construction and footing requirements. Draw a simple scale plan of what you want to do and take this to your local Home Hardware store where the friendly staff will show you the timber selection and advise on lengths that will save you time, money and lots of offcuts. Priming or staining of all decking timber before you start is a good idea. It prevents the timber from deteriorating and it's easy to cover all surfaces at this stage. Site preparation is important as the area below the deck is often not easily accessed. Poor drainage must be avoided as it leads to footing problems and water accumulation. Further undergrowth can be minimised by laying plastic sheeting or weed mat and covering with crushed rock or pine bark. The first step is to prepare the ledger, which will be bolted to the house wall and supports the deck. Start by measuring and cutting the ledger to length. Marks should be placed on the wall at what will be the top edge of the ledger. To calculate this height, subtract the height of the floor joists and decking timber from the overall height of the deck. Lift the ledger into position, check that it is at the intended height and is level, and drill into the brickwork. Using suitable masonry expansion bolts, place a bolt in the centre first, then recheck level and height, repeating the procedure for all the remaining bolts. There are two methods of marking out the intended deck and post locations, and you should use the method that best suits your deck. The first is to peg out the entire structure with string lines, starting by running lines out at 90 degrees from the house at each end of the ledger. Then measure out to the distance of the corner posts and run a third line, the length of the deck. Check for square by measuring diagonals and adjusting the strings that are at 90 degrees to the house until the diagonal measurements are equal. To later assist in post lengths, use a spirit level and check that the string lines are level. Then measure from the string line to the top of the intended deck at the house wall. Post locations can now be established by measuring along the strings to the distances indicated on your plan and a stake placed at each location. The second method of marking out is to run a string line along the end wall of the house and out past the corner of the intended deck. Next, temporarily stand and brace the corner post in its approximate location. Then place one end of a floor joist on the ledger and clamp the other end to the temporary post. Check square by measuring from the string line reference to the joist, then use a spirit level to check level and that the post is plumb. Mark the post location on the ground and repeat the procedure using the reference string line to ensure square. With this method of marking out, you'll need to remove the temporary frames and dig the post holes to the required specifications. With the string line method, the strings can stay in place. Mix the concrete to the correct consistency and pour a footing into each hole. The concrete should be allowed to cure before proceeding. If your deck requires a footing for steps, prepare and pour this at the same time. Next, calculate post lengths. Start by measuring from the string line to the concrete footing and adding that distance to the distance from the string line to the deck as earlier calculated. Alternatively, repeat the second mark-out procedure, standing the temporary post on the footing and measuring from the footing to the top of the joist, and add the decking thickness to establish post length. If the posts are to continue through the deck to support the handrails, or there is to be a pergola above the deck, then these distances should be added when calculating the lengths of the posts. Now measure, mark and cut all posts to length. If your design requires, shape the top of the post accordingly. If your design requires the post to be notched to accommodate the bearers, measure and mark the bearer locations on the posts and notch out the section. Stand and brace all posts in position and use a spirit level to check for plumb. The next stage is to prepare the main bearers by firstly measuring and cutting them to length. Then measure and mark bolt locations on all post centres and pre-drill. If there is more than one length of bearer, joins must coincide with post centres. Lift and temporarily clamp the bearer to the posts, then using a timber and spirit level, check the bearer is at the same height as the ledger and check the post to be plumb and square. Then drill and bolt the bearer to the posts. Next, cut all floor joists to the length indicated on your plan. Pre-mark joist locations on the top edge of both bearer and ledger, then skew nail each end joist into position. Ensure the structure is square to the house and that posts are plumb, and concrete the posts into position. If the posts are supported by metal shoes, then a wet concrete mix should be poured and allowed to cure before proceeding. If, however, treated pine posts are going straight into the ground, the hole should be filled 50mm at a time with a dry mixed concrete and compacted. When fitting the remainder of the joists, place a timber across them to check that they are all at the same height, then fit the support straps. This completes your framing, so you can now remove any strings, temporary braces and pegs. The next stage is to install the decking. Decking should be started from the house and work outward. If the timber is of varied lengths, make sure joints are staggered and that they are butt on a joist. It is better to cut the individual boards as you go. 2 galvanised nails should be placed at each joist, and nail holes should be pre-drilled to prevent the timber from splitting. Decking boards are usually spaced so the surface is free draining, but spaced close enough to prevent small articles or high heels going between the boards. Ensure that the timbers are laid straight by easing into line as you nail. Periodically check that the boards are parallel by measuring from the first board. When you reach the outer edge of the deck, secure boards flush with the outer edge of the floor joists. To produce a clean straight end, cut boards to allow for a slight overhang at the ends of the deck. Then cut off the excess when you've finished laying all of the decking. Next is the addition of the railings. Cut the rail timbers to length, then pre-mark the location of each rail on the posts and secure into position. If you intend to use an infill style of balustrade, the bottom channel should be supported to prevent sagging. Cut and secure the support timber between the posts, then cut the bottom channel and secure it to both posts and support. Next, cut the end channels to length and fix them to the posts, ensuring that they are flush with the bottom channel. Cut the infill to size and place it into the channels. Next, cut the top channel to length and place it onto the infill and nail to both posts and end channels. Finally, cut and fill the handrail. The next stage is to construct the steps. In this instance, the steps are at the low end of the structure and will not require handrails. If, however, your steps are at a greater height, handrails may be compulsory. You must check regulations regarding the requirements for infills, railings, steps and handrails. Start by measuring and cutting the stringers to length, then cut each end at the appropriate angle and cut the tip of the bottom of the stringer to 90 degrees. Measure along the stringer and place marks at the location of the bottom of each step. Then, using an adjustable square, draw a line at each mark parallel to the bottom of the stringer. cut each cleat to length and nail to the stringer at the pre-marked location. Sit the first stringer into position and secure it to the bearer or joists and posts and check for square. Then fit the second stringer, sighting it with the first, and measure to check that they are parallel. Finally, cut the stair treads to length and skew nail them to the stringers and into the cleats. The stringers should be prevented from movement by securing to the bottom posts if there are handrails or bracketed to a footing. Well, that's it for construction of the deck. The only other thing is to trim any timbers, sand off where necessary, and if required, give a final coat of varnish or timber treatment. Now you can sit back and relax, knowing that your new home hardware deck will add value to your home and provide an area for years of family enjoyment. Talk to us at Home Hardware, and you'll find that when it comes to decking, we've got the lot.
And don't forget, everything you need to build your deck is available at Home Hardware.